Now it's time for you to start.
Welcome back to our channel. Hope all of you are keeping safe. Our topic today is eliminating distractions. Why is it important for you to eliminate a distraction? It can prevent you. A distraction can prevent you from reaching your goal, your task, and it makes you a little bit more efficient at doing your tasks at hand.
I guess one of the biggest distractions nowadays, which wasn't one before, is probably the internet. And there's so many things to do on the internet, and it's a big advantage. But sometimes it could overwhelm you just because there is so much to do. You kind of start doing something, you find something, go down that rabbit hole, and you keep looking and looking and looking down. Well, YouTube, I guess, is a good example. And I'm not saying to eliminate the internet, but it's a good idea to take breaks from it. We'll discuss taking breaks from it in a few minutes.
Your phone is another distraction that the phone, I mean, it is essential. You keep in touch with your family members, but with the phones now, you can do so much with the phone. You can take pictures, selfies, you can FaceTime with other people, your family members that live far away. I mean, there's so many things that the phone can do. Go into the internet and go through Facebook and all do all that. So sometimes it's a good idea to do what we used to do without any phones before. How did you get around without a phone? Just leave it aside, turn it off, and recharge it. Just like the phone needs to recharge, you need to recharge and eliminate that distraction for those few minutes, for that hour, 2 hours that you're having lunch together. Get rid of the phone and get rid of that distraction and communicate with the person you're with at the time.
Notifications. Phones have notifications. Do you have to have notification for everything? For every channel, for every single page you go to? Some of them you need. Some of them you can turn off temporarily. Some of them you can turn off permanently. Also, like I guess junk mail and junk could be in your email. Unsubscribe from sites that send you a lot of junk mail, because then you get distracted and you start looking through emails unnecessarily because you're getting notified right away. So you can unsubscribe from emails unnecessarily. Also, paper mail. You could get distracted from paper mail in your mailbox. What you could do is unsubscribe from there, or just go and just switch it to all online mail. So you could just easily get distracted with physical mail as you could from internet.
A lot of distractions too that we find is watching the news, listening to the news. You can change the channel back and forth, and the news channels, they give you different stories, different shows give you different views on things and stuff, and so you can, like Tony said before, you can go down that rabbit hole and just watch news after news after news, because there's always a story to be told. There's always something going on that can become a very just large distraction and prevent you from doing the things that you really need to get done.
I think I, at one point, stopped watching news for about 10 or 15 years. And I told other people about that, and they started watching and going, wow, they had so much free time. One of them was like, I can just watch it on the weekends and catch up all the weekly news stories, because a lot of times the stories just repeat themselves. Sometimes you need to be on top of the news. I'm on top of the news daily right now, but I can go a decade or 5 years or weeks or months without having to watch it. Now I kind of watch it regularly, so I'm not saying to do it permanently, but you can go periods in your life without having to watch it, especially when the stories keep repeating themselves. Another thing is, what about taking a complete break from all technology? Like, think about taking a total break from all tech. Do you take a break for a day? Do you take a break for a week? Some people go camping. I've been camping a few times, and I'm shut off from technology for days at a time. You don't always need technology, and sometimes you need to take a break. So just shutting off all technology. Examples of just some things, you have everybody's favorites, which are the Facebook, YouTube, and the Twitter. I'm not telling you to stop watching them, because hey, that's pretty much going to destroy our channel, right? But there's nothing wrong with taking a break from it. Every once in a while, you do need to take a break from it. What if you're on it? If you're on all those things for 10 hours out of the day, you don't need to be on it for 10 hours. Maybe take a break for a couple hours of that. You don't have to take a break every day, but maybe take a break one day a week, 2 days a week. depends on what your situation is. You don't have to be on all the technology on all the time, every day, getting constant notifications, and your whole life is totally distracted because you're focused on something, and all of a sudden your distraction warns you, whether it's a ringtone, whatever it is, and you're distracted, and that's the end of your focus and whatever task you're at hand. Just taking a break from distractions is one thing, but scheduling it helps you even more. So let's say you decide once a month, I'm going to not have any technology for 2 days. Schedule that on the calendar, go for those 2 days. I don't want to be disturbed. And that'll help you starting, once you start getting used to not having those distractions, because you can take a 2 day break, then you find during the day you can take an hour here, an hour there, and take longer breaks once you get used to not having it. I guess it's like an addiction, almost like coffee for some, right? Where it's like you start going through withdrawal, and then you don't sleep. I don't remember the video I made with no internet for 2 days, which you guys can probably find on our channel. What happens when you turn off technology for several hours?
Another thing that you can do to eliminate a distraction would be to do something constructive with your time, other than going into the internet and browsing the internet and having, having a hobby takes you away from not just the internet, but it gives you time for yourself as well. I like to crochet. That gives me time to just, count and think about, stuff that I need to think about and stuff. Once you get the hang of the pattern down, you start thinking and your mind starts to wander, and you forget about stuff, the distractions that are around you. You forget about the phone, you forget about, being on Facebook and wasting time doing that stuff.
Television and watching movies. I do watch stuff now, but I haven't had cable TV in, I think, 3 decades now. At least 2 or 3 decades, I haven't had any cable TV. Not because I can't afford it. Well, actually, I'm cheap, but that's another story. I'm too cheap to get it. But aside from that, it just takes up a lot of your time to have 100 channels. You always have something to watch, and you really don't get anything done because you're taking all your time watching television, and it forces you to not be addicted to those channels. Now, I still have subscriptions to sites. I still watch movies and shows here and there, but that's very different than having 100 channels at your disposal or 200 channels at your disposal and you're just constantly clicking through, trying to figure out what to watch, as opposed to, you know what, I'll just watch something and I'll get back to doing what I needed to do. It helps to eliminate bad habits, and having distractions is sort of a bad habit, and you should look for ways of self-improvement. Like you mentioned, finding the hobbies. You could organize your room or house, because sometimes your house could be a distraction. There could be something like, for example, if magazines distract you and you have to walk by your pile of magazines every day or every few minutes, you might find that you're getting distracted by them. So let's say you keep them in a closet or keep them on a shelf away from your path where you have to walk on a regular basis. Getting those distractions, or if you know your phone while it's charging is going to distract you, is going to keep checking if someone's calling you. Maybe don't have it in your pathway where you're charging. Try to put the phone charging in another room. That's what I do sometimes too. Is I'll put my phone charging in another room. This way, that's kind of like my break. The phone needs to charge, and I'm not looking for it. Now, if I was charging right next to me, right in front of me, and I was not expecting an emergency call or something or an important call, then I'll be constantly checking my phone. But if it's another room, I'll just probably ignore it and just relax a bit more. So physically moving things around, organizing your room, organizing your house, and not really eliminating distractions, just moving them into a place where they're not constantly reminding you or grabbing your attention. Well, sometimes noises in the background could be a distraction. So what a lot of people do is they might have a little quiet background music. You've seen people that'll listen to the ocean quietly in the background, or they might have some soothing music when they're relaxing, or an air conditioning or a fan, what they call the background noise, which you have on constantly, will sometimes eliminate some of those smaller noises that might be a distraction. Sometimes you find that you get distracted very easily. Sometimes multitasking might help, because let's say you're doing one thing, it's too simple, your mind gets easily distracted. But if you're doing two things or three things that are simple, for some people that works well, where your mind is so focused on the three things that you're doing, you don't get distracted. But just doing that one simple task might easily make your mind wander and think of something else. So that's sometimes why you might want to multitask in order to help avoiding distractions.
Comment below what kind of distractions you have and let us know. Hope you enjoyed the elimination of distractions, and we'll see you next time. Have a nice evening. Bye.
All right.
Hours later.
I don't know anything about tech. I don't have that many tech stuff, so I don't
Okay.
know.
Neither do I, but